What Toto Wolff just said about Lewis Hamilton has left Ferrari insiders and the entire Formula One press speechless. Not because it was an attack on Maranello, nor because it sparked a political storm in the paddock, but because it was completely unexpected and came at a time when Hamilton's dream with Ferrari is under more pressure than ever. In a candid interview with the Italian press, Wolff, the man who spent more than a decade building an F1 empire alongside Hamilton at Mercedes, openly stated that the 7-time world champion remains very important to Mercedes, even now that he is wearing red Ferrari colors and going through one of the toughest starts to a season in his career. Those words carry weight. This is Formula One, a world where rival teams rarely show public affection for competing drivers, especially when they are fighting directly on the track. And yet, Wolff not only showed affection, he reaffirmed his belief in Hamilton's greatness, praising his honesty, self-criticism, and refusal to blame the team for his difficulties. It's a statement that not only catches the attention in Maranello, but also sends a subtle warning to the rest of the grid. Underestimate Hamilton at your own peril. And with Ferrari still searching for its first win of the season, the timing of Wolff's words couldn't be more intriguing. Could it be the spark that reignites Hamilton's fire? Or is it simply a reminder to the F1 world that legends don't fade away quietly? Let's break it all down. The quotes, the context, the meaning behind each word, and what it reveals about Hamilton's future at Ferrari. What makes Wolff's statement so powerful is not just what he said, but when and how he chose to say it. It wasn't at a cozy Mercedes team meeting or during a nostalgic reflection on the glory days. It was in a direct conversation with the Italian press, the same media group that scrutinizes Hamilton's every move in red week after week. Instead of giving vague answers or dodging the issue, Wolff looked them straight in the eye and essentially said, "Lewis Hamilton is still one of the most important drivers in my life and in the history of my team." For Ferrari, hearing this from their biggest rival must have been like a bolt from the blue. There was Toto Wolff, the architect of Mercedes' dominance, openly telling Italian journalists, many of whom question whether Hamilton's arrival at Maranello was a mistake, that they are wrong to underestimate him. And he doesn't say it with empty rhetoric, but by explaining exactly why Hamilton's current difficulties don't tell the whole story. Wolff's words cut through the noise because they challenge the easy narrative. It would be easy for the press to point to the standings, note that Leclerc is 42 points ahead, that Hamilton hasn't finished on the podium in a main race, that he has called himself useless, and conclude that his best days are behind him. Wolff says the opposite, that self-criticism is precisely why Hamilton will bounce back. Ferrari didn't sign him just for his name, his fan base, or his experience. They signed him for that unshakable ability to dig deep and fight when things aren't going well. Wolff knows that quality better than anyone. He's seen it in title fights, in last-lap showdowns, and in entire seasons with the odds stacked against him. He knows the difference between a driver who makes excuses and one who takes the hit and comes back fighting. Between the lines, Wolff is saying that Ferrari has one of the rarest assets in the sport, a proven champion who knows how to rebuild himself from scratch. But he also warns, indirectly, that if Ferrari doesn't give him the tools, patience, and environment to adapt, it risks wasting what it paid for. The Italian press understands this, which is why his words hit so hard. It's not just a compliment, it's a challenge. It forces us to ask whether Ferrari is doing enough to unlock Hamilton's potential. Is the SF25's design philosophy still so aligned with Leclerc's style that it doesn't give Hamilton the platform he needs? Are the tire management issues, rear instability, and mid-corner understeer being resolved quickly enough to prevent the season from slipping away? For the F1 press in Italy, which thrives on drama and tension, this is irresistible. Wolff, the man who would have every reason to quietly enjoy Ferrari's problems, is defending his most media-savvy driver. It's almost as if he's shielding him from the storm while challenging Ferrari to rise to the occasion. And there is another layer that makes it even more fascinating. the emotional one. Wolff and Hamilton are not just former teammates, they are partners forged in battle who lived through one of the most dominant eras in F1 history together. 6 world titles, 82 victories, and a bond built on both triumphs and controversies. That doesn't disappear with a signature on a contract with Ferrari. When Wolff says that Hamilton will always be part of the Mercedes family, it's not just a sentimental nod. It's a statement that, for him, Hamilton's legacy is untouchable. Of course, this also has repercussions for Mercedes, especially for Kimi Antonelli, the young prodigy who now occupies Hamilton's seat. Hearing your boss say that the man you replaced is still very important could be intimidating, but Wolff puts it another way. He's telling him to learn from Hamilton, to study how he faces the worst moments without giving up the fight. So why has this left Ferrari and the Italian press speechless? Because Wolff's words strike right at the heart of the narrative they have been building for months. Until now, it was easy to paint Hamilton as a superstar who made a romantic but doomed move in the twilight of his career. A 7-time champion who had perhaps already written his best chapters and was now struggling to adapt to a new car, a new culture, and the suffocating weight of Ferrari's expectations. But Wolff has just thrown all that into question. Instead of seeing him as a fading icon, he presents him as something much more dangerous. A hunter in disguise. A driver who, yes, is going through a turbulent stretch, but who is also gathering information, learning, adjusting, and waiting for the right moment to strike back. For Wolff, this is not decline, it is incubation. It's the uncomfortable but necessary stage where a champion recalibrates, where the fire is still there, burning brighter than ever, but the pieces of the puzzle are still falling into place. And that unsettles Ferrari and the Italian press, because if Wolff is right, what they are seeing now is not the end of Hamilton's story, but the prologue to something much bigger. Imagine the impact if Hamilton turned his performance around at Monza in front of the Tifosi crowd with a performance that silences months of doubt. Or at Suzuka, a track where driver skill can outweigh pure speed, achieving a victory that forces his critics to eat their words. And then there's the shadow of 2026, the big reset, with new regulations, new engines, and opportunities to shake up the established order. That's where Wolff's words sound almost prophetic. He knows that if Ferrari builds a car suited to Hamilton's style and solves the problems that have plagued him this year, the combination of his experience, adaptability, and sheer will to win could be lethal. He's seen that formula before, because he helped build it at Mercedes, and he knows what happens when all the elements come together. That's why his statement feels less like a friendly compliment and more like a subtle warning. Don't take your eyes off him. Don't think for a second that he's finished, because the moment you do, he'll be there, ready to take it all away from you. In F1, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, more dangerous than a champion with something to prove, a point to prove, and the machinery to back it up. For Ferrari, the challenge is clear. Either they match Hamilton's hunger, giving him the car and the confidence to unleash that comeback, or they risk seeing one of the greatest ever fall fighting in a battle he should never have lost. For the Italian press, it's a reminder that the narrative can change in the blink of an eye, and for the rest of the grid, it's a warning. The man in red who looks vulnerable today could be the biggest threat on the track tomorrow.